Hi, I'm Patricia Shanks, and this is Studio Shanks Sundays live at 5. Keep watching. I'm very happy to say my guest today is the multi-talented, very eclectic. She does everything and does it, just phenomenally. Christina Linhardt. Hi, Christina.
Hello, I'm so honored to be here, and you look gorgeous. Just
Oh,
drop.
thank you, don't I? No. Well, so do you, the Mutual Admiration Society. So, you know, you do so many things. I have a bio that goes on forever for you, and I almost don't know where to start. But I will start with well, first of all, you're a singer. You're a crossover singer, which you crossover multi. It's not traditionally crossover. We think of it, crossover. We think of it as classical and then some popular style, but you do classical and everything else, all kinds of styles. So we'll talk about that. And you are an actor, and you are a dancer, and you are a film and audio producer, and well, we'll get to it, whatever it is. so but you started out in your youth as an actual instrumentalist, a musician, and yes, a flutist or a flautist. And I guess it depends on if it's flute or flout. What you're doing, what kind of music you're playing. But anyway, why don't you tell us about that?
Right, and I've heard huge controversy over should be flute or flout, but I don't know. So yes, so I grew up commuting between Los Angeles and Germany, Switzerland, Austria. We were there all year, and my family was very classical music, and we were around a lot of great composers like Ernst Krenek, and I grew up with the Schoenberg family, and the great grandson or grandson of Richard Wagner. So I was classical music, and I was always competing with my older brother, and so he was a French horn player. So I picked up an instrument, and I said I'm going to be better than him, and I was going to play for the LA Phil, and I trained and trained and trained, but I didn't really like it. And then as a teenager at Hamilton Music Academy, I was playing in the orchestra pit, and I looked up and I said, I want to be up there. I want to be singing and dancing. So then I switched, but it was a long haul because I was tight. I was tight and all that. I was used to being in the pit. So it took a lot to open up.
Yeah, well, and Hamilton Music Academy is the arts high school, kind of the fame equivalent of the New York Fame School. So you had to be very, very talented to be able to go there, and I'm sure that you were a wonderful flutist flautist. But so you performed with the orchestra in the pit and elsewhere, I'm sure. But yeah, that desire to be the solo performer up on stage, with every all eyes on you, as they should be because you're so wonderful. And so then you transitioned into singing somehow.
So at Hamilton, I went in there, and as a flutist, I went in there kind of as the top flutist. But singing, there was so much competition, and so I applied my flute training to singing, and eventually got into their prestigious madrigal singing, and I was so happy. And then I went on to USC, and I got my degree in voice and classical voice, and with a minor in theater. And I also studied at Oxford University for a summer because I guess Hamilton was all about musical theater, so that's what I was training for. Although later on, I realized that musical theater wasn't exactly what I'd want to do, but using all those skills. So I went to USC, but at USC I had a struggle singing as well. My technique was not as free. Like when I hear you sing, it's open, it's healthy, it's natural. For me, there's all this tension. I say this if other singers are listening, that it took a lot of letting go, but also then I found that my fortes then, because what I couldn't do, I found other things like crossover music like Sarah Brightman, or doing cabaret or Celtic music or early music.
Well, and thank you very much for the nice compliment. That was very sweet of you. But I have to say, I have heard you do your classical singing. You did something for a Laguna Beach event, and I didn't hear it live. I heard the recording after the fact. But I was so impressed because when I first heard you, I heard you singing more of your cabaret show with a good friend of ours, the accordionist Nick Ariando. And that's how I knew you. And then I heard you do this other thing, which was spectacular, beautiful.
Oh,
So
thank you so much. It took a long time, and I feel I got my technique when I studied with Shigemi Matsumoto. Again, if this is for singers and anyone knows Shigemi, it was actually, and that was after USC. And I was having dinner once with Frederica von Stade because that was through my father, and Frederica von Stade said, "Go to Shigemi Matsumoto." And years later, I did, and that helped. And then doing Rolfing and body work and all that sort of thing. But yes, Nick Ariando is amazing, and I was 19 when I first started working with Nick, and we were rehearsing for a gig that we were both hired on. But I have to say, rehearsing with Nick on that gig, I was almost getting more than my training at USC, although USC was exceptional. I'm not saying anything against USC. I'm just saying that working with Nick really just then, that was when my training really began.
yes, yes. And I've also done some singing with Nick. And I have to say that what the music that I was doing working with him, I felt that my technique came up at that moment in time too. And it's, in part because he's such a wonderful musician and so engrossed, so involved in his art. He plays multiple kinds of accordions and knows all about them, and composes and arranges, yeah, he's marvelous. So he's great to work with. And also, though, you mentioned Shigemi Matsumoto, and also a wonderful teacher. So you've had some good background, some excellent training, which is why you sounded so good when I heard you. So there. Now, what else? You do your cabaret show. Can you talk a little bit about that? The kind of music that you do there, and some of the other kinds of singing that you do.
Right. So I really was attracted to cabaret probably from my German background. And my father, he was a German diction coach at LA Opera, but that was a side thing for him. He was chairman of the German department at USC, and he was also Germany's most decorated citizen because he did a lot of work with German Jewish retribution, reconciliation, and he helped get synagogues built in Dresden, and he escaped East Germany. And so when I was 19, I was studying in Berlin, and I just said the cabaret is what works for me, and having the German background. So yes, I would sing at the German consulate, be the national anthem singer, and then also represent the city of Berlin at the Grove.
Yeah, the city of Berlin, which is one of Los Angeles's sister cities, and you've performed. Now you've performed. We were talking a little bit earlier, and there are some interesting venues where you've performed, and I don't think when we just spoke earlier, I don't think we touched on that.
Well, first we talked about performing with Maximilian Schell, and that was, again, it was through my father, and we did a performance in conjunction with Los Angeles Opera at the Colburn School, and Maximilian Schell and I were narrating and acting while we had singers from the LA Opera. And then the venues around town. So I've performed at the Magic Castle and actually performed there regularly, although not now with COVID and everything, but using classical music in a more, I was trained so classically, and yet I found that my true love was the circus and the carnival. And we discovered with the advent of the internet that my great grandparents, who were these pharmaceutical or pharmacists, respectable pharmacists, actually had started out as medicine show hacks. And, part of my family, they weren't so proud of that, but I was thrilled. I said, that makes sense. Why I had this classical background, this classical training. And yet I always wanted to branch out into the circus. And, medicine show hacks were all about ballyhoo and circus. So I was always the classical singer in a circus show or in a burlesque show. So Magic Castle and burlesque shows around town, and yeah, just all these variety shows, but I'll be singing Nessun Dorma tenor aria or Puccini, and then they'll be juggling fire or daggers across or whatever.
Like I said, you do it all. And for anybody who has a chance to see Christina in live performance, it is eclectic. She does everything. It's beautiful singing, it's movement, it's music, it's dance, it's a circus act. It's fantastic. I mean, you're just such an exciting performer. And you mentioned, just for the young people, and people, well, we're young people too, but for the people younger than us, who who don't know who Maximilian Schell was. He was a famous actor, and got an Academy Award for his part in Judgment at Nuremberg. Very iconic film. So for film buffs, they should see that. But anyway, yeah, you've just been fortunate to work with all kinds of interesting people, very talented people. There are some other things that you do. I know that you work with veterans and Alzheimer's patients and others. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yes, that is the work that I love the most. And right out of college, I was producing at the Odyssey Theater. I was sort of the right hand man for Ron Saucy. And one of my actors was telling me about the work that he was doing with a program called the Imagination Workshop. And Imagination Workshop is under the auspices of UCLA's Neuropsychiatric Institute, or Semel Institute for Neuroscience. And I said, I want to be involved, because at the time I was teaching in juvenile hall, working with all these little gangbanger boys, and which was very fun. And so I've been doing the theater. It's theater as therapy, or therapeutic theater improv work, not drama therapy. And I've been doing it at New Directions for Veterans at the VA hospital for years now. And we even started getting grants to put on plays with the vets. And the vets are dual diagnosis, mentally ill, substance abuse, homeless. And so many of them just tell me that it's just changed their lives completely. And we've had amazing stories.
Yes.
Oh, and then our program got a grant through a friend of mine to work at a memory care facility. And with the memory care, we weren't quite sure how it was going to work, with people in their 90s and wheelchairs getting up and doing theater. And so we started moving more into singing. And it was amazing how some people who couldn't even speak could sing, and all the words came out. And then maybe some words came out even after they sang, and how the songs could just trigger so much in the brain. It's just fascinating about music and the studies that are being done of music and lighting up all the brain.
Yeah, yeah. It's anybody who does music with Alzheimer's patients, bless your heart, because it really makes a difference. And we don't know really what's going on from their perspective, and how can we? But it's good when you are able to make that connection with them. So that's wonderful. That's a beautiful thing you do. Now you're a producer, you're a recording artist, and you have some recordings out that people should be aware of.
Yes, so I have two albums. Although now I look back, it's been quite a while since I produced those. The first one is Circus Sanctuary, and the second one is Voodoo Princess. And Bruce Eskovitz helped me produce it, and we used incredible talent, a lot of faculty from USC. We had people like Shelley Berg on it, and Bill Churchville, who's a studio recorder. David Shostak from the LA Phil even played on. I mean, the chamber from the LA Chamber Orchestra played on it. So I had wonderful performers, and the music is really, it's sort of Cirque du Soleil meets Sarah Brightman and Kate Bush. And so I took a lot of famous operatic tunes and rewrote the lyrics, and then maybe changed it to like the habanera, the Carmen habanera, into a salsa cumbia and that sort of thing. So
Look at how clever you are. Look at all the things you do. You're not just the triple threat. We haven't even talked about dance, but I know that you studied some dance and you do hula and you do all these other styles of dance and everything. But you sing everything. You dance. You do the circus stuff. You're an actor. You're involved with films and live performance and producer. Let's see what else. You do it all. And I'm trying to think, is there something, that we haven't touched on that's really important to you, or something that we'd like to talk about?
I would say my documentary, Guantanamo Circus. So that was, yeah, I went down to Guantanamo Bay with a circus. And a lot of us had mixed emotions about this, but we knew that there were children stationed there, and it was just very eye-opening. And that was in 2006 at the peak of the controversy. And I was singing classical music. I sang Gilbert and Sullivan. And then I was singing Franz Lehar's Meine Lippen, sie küssen so heiß. On my lips, every kiss is like wine, which usually I use that aria at the Magic Castle, and I'm feeding a magician razor blades. But out there and on Guantanamo, it was huge. It was like thousands of people. It was a big amphitheater. And so I used a performer. He was a huge guy, Phil Solomon, and we used fire instead. And so it's one of these experiences. If there are other singers out there, because I always had tension and I worried about this, that, and the other thing. Well, I had no time to even worry about my voice because I had to get out there on stage, thousands of people there. Phil has me up on his shoulders. I'm singing a high B, and he gives me a fire torch. And I'd never worked live with fire before, and kind of should have some lessons, you know. It really got rid of a lot of the tension because there was no time to think about singing or anything because you had to, you were more thinking about your safety. Phil was like almost 7 feet tall, so I'm up there with the fire and
Yeah, I could see all that beautiful hair of yours just going up like, like cotton.
the ponytail, but still, yeah. And I guess I would say, like, for any singers who are listening to this, if there's anything that you are working through and something feels stuck or tight, go sing the aria when you're doing something completely different. And so that you're not even thinking about the aria. I mean, I wouldn't recommend working with fire if you've never, because you don't want to burn down your house, but go do something that's completely distracting while you're singing and it frees things up.
That's really good. I'm very much as you are, very much involved in education, and we, especially if you're doing something classical, we tend to get very rigid sometimes, because of the perfectionistic aspect of, we must do it perfectly. But that's the last thing you want to do. That makes it anything but perfect, So yeah, doing something to distract yourself and record. If you record yourself doing that, you'll notice some things that, whoa, that was pretty good. Who was that? So yeah, that's a good tip. Thank you for that. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
I remember it used to be when I was training at USC and auditioning or whatever, that just I was worrying so much about everything. And then when I got out into the world and I was working with clowns and my clown friends and watching them improvise on gigs, and I started doing that, and the freer I got, and also doing the theater therapy with the vets, but all the work that I did, the voice just became so secondary. I wasn't even thinking about that. And it really helps. I have to say, like, the clown work helped a lot with opening up my voice.
yeah, see, and these little things just keep coming up. It's like, yeah, clown work, and what next, Christina? So yeah, do you have some of this, some pictures and some things, some videos, some things on your website or that you reference somewhere? Where can people find out about you?
Right. So I have tons of videos on YouTube. Really, if you spell my name correctly, Christina and then Linhardt, Linhardt, because people always put that D in there, but it's Linhardt. If you spell my name right, you can find me on YouTube. And there's a whole bunch of different videos with different groups like Angels of Venice, which we can talk about next, and the circus stuff, and then music videos I made for my albums. A video singing with the tenor of the Kingston Trio, and that's a whole different story, which is very exciting. And then my albums, Circus Sanctuary and Voodoo Princess, are on Spotify, TikTok Sounds, although I think it's better if you just look under my name, and iTunes, although I think that's Apple now, CD Baby, Amazon, so my music can be found. So YouTube, TikTok, Spotify, all that. Just look up my name. Oh, and then the documentary, Guantanamo Circus. It's just a short documentary. And it was a tip to people. It's always costs money to license music. So I just used the music from my albums. I took my vocals out because I had all these great instrumentalists on it, and just used the music from my albums so we didn't have to pay for the music. So Guantanamo Circus is available on Amazon Prime, on Roku, I believe, and I believe on Pluto TV. So
That's great. Yeah. Did you now with all of that? Did you mention your website? Did I miss that? There were.
oh yeah, my website. So two ways to access it. It's not quite updated, but oh yeah, and you can also find me on Instagram and Facebook. Again, just spell my name right, and it's all there. But my website would be my name, www.christinalinhart.com, or www.circussanctuary.com with two S's, because I found a circus school is also using the word circus sanctuary, and they only use one S. So
Oh, so in other words, circus sanctuary, all run together, those two S's in the middle.
I like
Okay, and I'll put all this. I'll make sure we have some graphics here so that people can find you. I'm sure. I mean, there's just so much. I'm sure that we're missing some really exciting, interesting points of your career. Will your upcoming performances be mentioned on your website?
the website, not as much, more on Facebook and Instagram. I publicize them. Not quite sure what's coming up. I've been doing a lot of hula dancing the last couple months because as we were sort of coming out of quarantine, a lot of places, but they were all private hula dance shows. I work for a group called Gypsy Folk Ensemble. We do all kinds of ethnic dancing. And again, with dance, I came to dance late at the Music Academy, and there are all these great dancers, and I couldn't dance at all. But I just kept training, and so we do hula and Irish, and but those are all private shows. But I just recently with Brian Pezzone did the El Segundo Collage art. It's a new art cultural center, and they've asked us to come back maybe in September, October. Oh, I'm going to be on the Pink Lady. If you know the Pink Lady presents, she's wonderful. I'm going to be on her show September 12th. And then something's coming up at Huntington for Halloween, but I'm not sure if it's been announced yet. So that's sort of a secret.
Ooh, yeah, ooh, the Huntington Library and Gardens. Uh, Beautiful place. That'd be fun for Halloween. Ooh,
Right.
yeah.
I won't be singing. Actually, I think members of LA Opera are going to be doing Sweeney Todd. I'm actually going to be doing something else I do that I love, which is fortune telling.
Oh, see, there are things that just come up every time we talk. There's something new that comes up. You're just everywhere. You're all over the map. And yes, we have this thing that we're still dealing with, this COVID thing. But keep that lovely voice, keep that beautiful voice in good shape, and all of those good skills, because we want to see you out there performing all over the place again in the near future. And I think you're just great, and I thank you so much for taking time out of, how did you have time for this with all that you do, but for taking the time out to talk with me and to share all of the things that you do and some helpful hints for other performers. So we'll see you out there. I thank you so much, Christina. And thank you. And we'll see everyone else next time on Studio Shanks Sundays live at 5. And watch for Christina. Watch for Chris. Where is she? Watch for Christina. Okay.